What's up, nerds? It's your boy, the OG GM. It's about 12 noon. It's the 29th day of September 2022. It's cloudy and hazy and a little smoky here at Site B. Not sure what that means, but it's round two of our deep dive look into Unearthed Arcana for OneDnD preview number 2. Wasn't it nice of Wizards of the Coast to extend the amount of time you had to fill out the survey for round 1, and then just 24 hours later go live with round 2. Now we can look at 3 of the classes. We're looking at the expert classes. The expert classes are the classes that kind of don't fit in anywhere else, I guess, or I don't know. We've got the warrior classes, we've got the big guys, the warrior classes: fighter, barbarian, paladin, monk. Any class. I'm just not even going to touch monk. I can't talk about monk. I'll be somebody will say I'm racist or racial appropriation. So we're just going to take monk and go, nope. Then we got the caster classes. We got your warlock, which is still stupid. We got your sorcerer. We got your wizard. We got your cleric. We got your druid. We got, I don't know, whatever else. Your artifactor. I guess that's in there too. And then we've got the other guys. We got your bard. They changed bards. We got your ranger. And you got your rogue. Yes. And now we're talking about the ranger, who, in 5th edition kind of got the shaft. It was just sort of like, yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, if I wanted to play a wilderness guy, I'd either play a barbarian or a druid, because your thing just kind of is meh in 5th. Just sort of meh. I mean, gone are the days of the original ranger based on Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, a lone survivor, and also based, of course, on, special forces, rangers, green berets, ninjas. These were guys, one riot, one ranger. You send in one ranger to do the job of 20 men because he's so expertly trained. That's why the rangers, special forces, Navy SEALs, all that stuff, the whole imagery of Aragorn being the one guy who can survive for 20 years in the wild by himself, taking on hundreds of orcs. Gone is that image. Because, as we know, it was replaced with Drizzt, with his, 2 scimitars and being all mopey and trying to feel redemption. And that's what rangers were all about. Again, single-handedly standing against the tides of darkness in the wilderness, wielding their scimitars and holding their own. Well, gone is that image, because 5th edition gave us the ranger that is some guy who can't get lost. But that's okay, because now they're an expert. They get to hang out in the same section of the bar with the bard and the rogue. Yeah, I'm sure Aragorn wants to be related to with the bard and the rogue. That's just, when you think ranger, you don't think, oh yeah, Scanlan and Bilbo. Yeah, no. You think Aragorn. You think the Lone Ranger. You think Special Forces. You think Wyatt Earp. You even think Drizzt. But yeah, you don't think, oh yeah, bard. So you're an expert now. Why are rangers now an expert? Why are bards an expert? Why are the rogues an expert? Because they all get the expertise ability. So let's take a look if rangers in OneDnD are now better than they were before. Okay, hit points D10. No, that's not bad. Your saving throw bonuses are strength and dexterity. Your skill choices are athletic, stealth, survival, and you get to choose from 3 of the following: animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. Okay, we've got 20 levels of rangers. We've got spellcasting starting at very first level, with 2 primal cantrips and 2 first level primal stealth. And then we move on. Okay. Rangers can use simple weapons and martial weapons. They don't get any tools for free, and they're trained to use light armor, medium armor, and shields. Their freebie equipment are 20 arrows, an explorer's pack, a longbow, a quiver, a scimitar, of course, because of Drizzt, a short sword, studded leather armor, and 8 gold pieces. Or you can ignore all that and just start with 150 gold pieces and take whatever equipment you want. I always go for the freebies, but between that and the freebies you get from background, it's like I don't have to do any shopping. You just gave me everything I need. First level, you get expertise. You can choose 2 skills and get expertise. Now, they recommend stealth and survival, but you don't have to take those. So what does expertise mean? Well, normally when you are proficient in a skill, you get to add your proficiency bonus plus your staff bonus. So your proficiency bonus at first level is +2. Your stat bonus, I don't know, we're going to say probably +3, maybe +4. So in the skill you're proficient with, you're adding +2 and then that additional +3. So +5. But expertise allows you to double your proficiency bonus. So instead of +2, it's +4 plus stat bonus. So +4 +3, that's +7. +7 at first level, that's pretty cool. At first level, you get favorite enemy. You are adept at focusing your ire on a single foe. You always have the Hunter's Mark spell prepared, and it doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare. Moreover, you don't have to concentrate on the spell once you cast it. It lasts for its full duration until you end it, or you are incapacitated. So gone are the bonus to hit and damage against your favorite enemy. Gone are the bonuses to tracking and skill checks when dealing your favorite enemy. Now you get to add Hunter's Mark to one guy. And since it doesn't account against the number of spells you can prepare, I guess that means you can cast Hunter's Mark an infinite amount of times. And if you're not familiar with Hunter's Mark, does 2 things. 1, extra damage. 2, you always know where the target of your Hunter's Mark is as long as they don't leave your range. So if they go behind a wall, you still have that little arrow following them and you can see it through the wall as long as they are not out of the range. Is this better than getting the skill bonus? Well, I think most people thought the skill bonus was kind of dumb. But is this better than the plus to hit and damage? No, just a flat plus to hit and damage is better. Now you don't have a specific enemy. It's just anybody who's pissed you off, you can Hunter's Mark for free. And I don't know if you have a limit to it or not, because you always have Hunter's Mark spell prepared, and it doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare. So you've always got at least 1 Hunter's Mark free, maybe more. I mean, at least with the previous bonus, you could add the skill bonus whenever you want against your favorite enemy. So if your favorite enemy were spellcasters, you always get the skill bonuses. If your favorite, before favorite enemy was ogres, you always got the plus to hit and damage. Now it's just anybody who pisses me off, I get an extra Hunter's Mark that I can cast on them, which means I always know where they are, and I'm going to do some extra damage against them. Once. No! No! I mean, it was bad enough when you only got the bonus against one thing, but if you picked groups like humanoids, you could sort of cheat. And if the second one was like, I only get the bonus against one thing, but if I pick undead, there's a lot of things that fall under undead, so I'm still coming out ahead. This one is once per day, I can get angry at someone, and then for a round or 2, I get an extra D4 damage against them. Yeah. I suppose the reason why they took out all the other stuff is because, well, being angry against one specific race is racist. Your ranger hates undead. You're racist against undead. This way, it's just like your ranger has some attitude issues, and occasionally they get pissed off at one dude, and for another round or 2, they can do extra damage against that one dude. And they always know where the one dude is if the one dude decides to hide behind some walls or stuff. Now, the always knowing where somebody is aspect of Hunter's Mark, even if they run, as long as the duration of the spell hasn't run off, was always more cool to me than just the extra damage. But it never came up. But it was always like there are things I could do with this. But yeah. Also, first level you get spells. At second level you get to pick your fighting style. You gain one of the following fighting styles: archery, defense, or 2-weapon fighting. Whenever you get a feat at later levels, fighting style feats are among your options, even though you aren't a member of the warrior group. So fighting style feats are now all clumped under one thing, and your choice is the archery fighting style feat, the defense fighting style feat, or the 2 weapons fighting style feat. Drizzt, still out there. Archery, old school, defense, I don't know what it does. We'll find that out when we go to the feats. 3rd level, you get to pick your ranger subclass. 4th level, you get to pick the ability score improvement feat or just another feat. Hey, we talked about this one before, but let's talk about it again. Now, if you're not familiar with the ability score improvement feat and how it's different than what you could do before, in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, at 4th level, you get to choose to add +2 to one stat, or +1 to 2 different stats, or you could take a feat, as opposed to previous where you got both. Now it's one or the other. Now, it does say the feat is optional. You don't have to take the feat, but they're in the player's handbook, okay? So if they were truly was like, okay, we prefer you to take the bonus to stat, but you can let them have feats, but that's an option, then that should have been in a separate book. And the player's handbook should have just been short, like 46 pages, and just like, the system is built for the bonus to stat. But if you want to have the feats, they're available online, or they're available in a upcoming supplement. But they're optional, which means you don't have to have them. But Wizards of the Coast, you included feats, and you knew everybody was going to look at the feats and go, well, I can get +2, or I can take Sentinel and make sure nobody ever gets to run past me. Yeah, I'm going to take Sentinel. I mean, the stat bonuses are nice, but most of the feats were better than the stat bonus, especially Resilience, because Resilience gave you +1 to a stat, and you got the saving throw. And a lot of the feats gave you +1 to a stat anyways. So now they're saying you can take the ability score improvement feat, which was the exact same thing as you could do before, or you could change it for a normal feat, which was the exact same thing you could do before. We're just now giving you permission to do something you could have been doing since 2014. At 5th level, you get an extra attack. At 6th level, you get a subclass feature. At 7th level, you get roving. Your speed increases by 10 feet while you aren't wearing heavy armor. You also have a climb speed and a swim speed equal to your speed. So you're going to have a swim speed of 40 and a climb speed of 40. Climb speed of 40 is pretty awesome. At 8th level, you get a feat. At 9th level, you get some more expertise. At 10th level, you get a subclass feature. At 11th level, you get an ability called Tireless. Whenever you finish a short rest or a long rest, you can give yourself a number of temporary hit points equal to 1d8 plus your proficiency bonus. As opposed to just healing myself. So now not only can I heal myself during a long rest, I can give myself an extra 5, 10, 15, 8 plus 3, 8 plus 4. If I max out, I'm running around with an extra 12 hit points buffer. That's that I can use once. I kind of like that. It feels like more like a fighter thing or a barbarian thing than a ranger thing, but okay. And you can decrease exhaustion. If you are exhausted when you finish a short rest, your level of exhaustion decreases by 1. Of course, when you finish a short rest, your exhaustion also decreases by 1 anyways, but let's say you have two levels of exhaustion. Somehow that managed to happen. Okay. 12th level, feat. 13th level, you have Nature's Veil. You invoke spirits of nature to magically hide yourself from view. As a bonus action, you can expend a spell slot and become invisible to the end of your next turn. Don't I get invisibility to animals anyways? I mean, I'm just going to take a look here at the primal skills and just pretty sure. I've already got animal friendship at first. And I'm just going to take a look at the new primal skills that are added on here just real quick, just to see. Well, I don't have invisibility in animals anymore. Doesn't look like it. Funny, you would think that would just sort of be a given with primal spells, Animal friendship or invisibility to animals, but both those seem to be gone. But that's okay, because when I reach 13th level, I can be invisible to an animal or people or an animal for 1 turn. 14th level, I get a subclass feature. At 15th level, I get blind sight with 30 feet. 16th level, I get a feat. 18th level, I get Foe Slayer. My Hunter's Mark is now dealing an extra D10 damage rather than an extra D6 damage. And at 20th level, I get my Epic Boon. Then again, we have the recommended spells and the spells that cannot be replaced. We talked about this in the Bard thing. So now they're giving you certain spells that you have to take. You cannot choose not to take them. Automatically, whenever you rest and you're like, today I want to memorize this spell and this spell, you have to also memorize. You can't not memorize it. This spell is tattooed on your brain. No matter how hard you try, even if you didn't want to memorize it, why would I need this spell? I'm in some place where it would never come in handy. I would rather choose a spell I can use. Nope, sorry. So at first level, your must take is Speak with Animals. At 7th level, your must take is Barkskin. 7th level, I'm forced to take a 2nd level spell. Well, at least there only seems to be 2. No, at 10th level, I have to take the cantrip Message. At 12th level, I have to take Revivify. Wait, am I reading these wrong? I think I might be reading these wrong. Okay, so these are the recommended spells. Okay, so that's what they're saying. They're saying this is a recommended spell. And then the ones with the little mark next to it are the ones you have to take. Okay, so I have to take at first level Speak to Animals. I can never not take to Speak to Animals. At 3rd level, they recommend you take Ensnaring Strike, which is a 1st level spell. At 5th level, they recommend you take Longstrider, Pass Without Trace, Spike Growth. At 8th level, they recommend you take the 2nd level skill Barkskin. Actually, Barkskin is underlined, so maybe it's one you have to take. At 9th level, they recommend Conjure Barrage and Elemental Weapon. At 10th level, they highly recommend you take the cantrip Message. It's not underlined. It doesn't have a little mark next to it, so they're saying it's optional, but we highly recommend you take this cantrip because you've been adventuring for 10 levels and you didn't take it at the beginning. Really, if somebody's going to take cantrip, they're going to take it before 10th level. At 11th level, we recommend you take Revivify. At 13th level, we recommend you take Freedom of Movement. At 15th level, we recommend Locate Creature. At 17th level, we recommend Conjure Woodland Beings and Conjure Volley. And at 20th level, we recommend Tree Stride. Our Ranger subclass is Hunter. Remember, there's 48 subclasses, 50 subclasses, but we're only going to work at one subclass per class right now in the Expertise class. And for Hunter, at 3rd level, you get Hunter's Prey. When you hit a creature with a weapon, an unarmed or unarmed attack, your weapon deals a D8 damage to the target if it is missing any hit points. You can deal this extra damage only once per turn. Okay, so if you strike a creature with your weapon, or for some reason you're punching them, and that creature is already hurt, they will take an extra D8 damage. So you can't use this one on the first round of combat unless somebody's gone before you, but you can use this one on the second round of combat, as long as you've hurt that guy. At 6th level, you get Hunter's Lore, which means if you have Hunter's marked a creature, you can know if that creature has any immunities, resistance, or vulnerabilities, and if the creature has any, you know what they are. So if I Hunter's mark Superman at 6th level, I'm going to know he has a vulnerability to kryptonite, assuming I've Hunter marked that one guy, and now I know that one guy at 6th level, I know that that guy has got, immunities, resistance, and vulnerabilities. I mean, that's something I could do with a skill check, right? Or, a divination spell, or a couple hours of research at a library, or I don't know, a nature lore / survival skill check to tell me whether that creature is vulnerable to fire or not. But no, if I'm angry and I Hunter's Mark that one guy who's going to take extra damage, now I also know that he's vulnerable to kryptonite. I guess if I Hunter's Mark somebody, and I know that guy takes extra damage from cold, I could yell at the wizard, hit him with cold. Or if for some reason it's a big guy and we have to run away, or the guy gets away, like say the dragon flies away, then later on, if we fight the same guy, I'm going to remember, oh, he's vulnerable to cold. We should prepare for that and bring lots of cold. Again, I mean, I guess they're assuming, just in case you didn't ask or look it up or make a skill check or have the wizard or cleric do any divination whatsoever, or, I don't know, read a book. If you chose not to do any of those things and you're chasing something that has a specific weakness and you want to waste the Hunter's Mark on this thing, well, now I got to tell you that this thing is vulnerable to cold. Something you could have found out had you just looked it up in a book or made a skill check or had the cleric or wizard cast, a first level divination spell, or just asked around, hey, other people who have haunted this dragon, do you know if this dragon has any weaknesses? Oh, yeah, it's weak to fire or cold or cheese. Oh, okay, thanks for telling me that. I didn't have to waste a spell. I could have just asked or looked it up in a book. Hey, book that tells me everything I need to know about undead. Is this mummy got any vulnerabilities? Oh, yeah, fire. Great, now I don't have to waste a spell. Or I could have, I don't know, made a skill check. Hey, I'm tracking down a gelatinous cube. Gelatinous cubes have any vulnerabilities? Let me roll my survival/nature check. Oh, 15. I know they're vulnerable to fire. But nope, I don't have to do that anymore because now I can waste a spell. At 10th level, the hunter gets multi-attack. You always have Conjure Barrage prepared, and it doesn't account against the number of spells. You can also cast the spell with a first and second level spell slot. If you do so, the spell's damage is reduced by 1d8 for each slot level above third. You can cast the spell with a first or second level spell slot. When you do, the spell's damage is reduced by 1d8. Is Conjure Barrage a really high level spell so that I can undercast it? Is this the first time somebody's ever let us undercast? Well, that could be cool. That's something we can now do. But I've never heard of Conjure Barrage. Of course, I've never played a druid or a ranger in 5e, so... Conjure Barrage is a... There's Conjure Volley, Conjure Woodland Beings. Conjure Barrage is a third level spell. We don't have any explanation for it, but if it's third level, let's base it on the third level spell we do know. I'm assuming it's not as good as Fireball, because Fireball has to be the end-all be-all of damage invoking spell. So let's assume, because I don't know. Does anybody know what Conjure Barrage is? Please let me know. But I can multi-attack at 10th level as a hunter, which means instead of actually multi-attacking, I get to cast Conjure Barrage, which I think brings down a bunch of arrows or something, right? That's what it sounds like it does. Like I shoot one arrow in the air and 100 arrows come down. Let's assume that spell is, I'm casting it as a third level spell, which means I have to be 5th level, which I would have gotten at 10th level. I've already 5th level, which means I already have Conjure Barrage. Let's say Conjure Barrage does 66. But I don't want to do 66. Instead, I could use a 2nd level slot instead of a 3rd level slot and do 5d6. Or I could use a 1st level slot instead of a 3rd level start and do 4d6. Is this the first time we've ever seen this? That you could actually downcast a spell? I know you can upcast spells, but I'm not aware of an option where you can downcast spells. Like, I want to cast this, but I only want to do this amount of damage because I don't want to waste the 3rd level slot. If they describe how this this works better, this could be cool. This could be something I could actually enjoy. But calling this ability multi-attack when it's not multi-attack? Okay, that I just don't get. Oh. Let's answer the phone, even though it's spam. Hello? Hello? Yeah, no, my car warranty's expired. All right, and finally, at 14th level, you get Superior's Hunter Defense. When you are hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to have the attack damage against yourself, and you can redirect the other half of the damage to one creature other than the attacker that you can see within 5 feet of yourself. So that's assuming there's another monster within 5 feet of me. And I take half damage, and then I can send the other half to somebody else. How many times can I do this? Well, it doesn't give a limit, so as long as I have a reaction roll, I can do this every round. So every round, if something strikes me, I can take half damage, and if there's any damage remaining, I can give it to anybody who's within 5 feet of me, which means I'm more likely going to give it to a friend than a bad guy, unless I'm lucky enough to have a bad guy within me. So 14th level, maybe I'll be taking 10 points of damage, which means I'm taking 5 points of damage, and I'm taking the other 5 to give to that orc that happens to be in the same corner of me. So this is the Hunter subclass. Nothing about this screams Hunter to me. The Hunter's lore should be your first thing, not something you have to wait to 6th level. Multi-attack. Why is this called multi-attack? It's specific to one spell, which as far as I know, only lets you throw more arrows because it's called barrage. And barrage usually means airborne attack, which usually means lots of arrows. It's definitely not multi-attack. It's definitely not allowing me to hit somebody 14 times with my scimitar. And at 14th level, I get to have an ability to, once per round, take half damage and then screw over an orc or whatever. The only one I like is the possibility in multi-attack of allowing a caster to downcast spells, because I don't think that's something we've ever seen before. And if that reads the way I think it reads, that could be cool and abusive, but cool. Because I could be using first level slots to cast Fireball and only doing 2d6 less. And if that's true, that's frickin' awesome. Other than that, I am woefully unimpressed by the Ranger. It doesn't feel... It still kind of just feels like the also-ran class. I mean, if I want Wilderness guy, I'm still going to go either Barbarian or Druid. Or, a Fighter or even a Rogue with appropriate Wilderness feats. This guy doesn't scream Hunter of Men. This guy doesn't scream, I can survive by myself in the wilderness for 20 years. This guy definitely doesn't scream Drizzt, single-handedly taking on 1,000 orcs with only 2 scimitars and some spare time. This doesn't scream Super Archer Green Arrow. This doesn't scream Aragorn. This doesn't scream Special Forces. This doesn't scream one Riot, one Ranger. This doesn't scream Wyatt Earp. It doesn't scream Lone Ranger. It doesn't scream Green Berets. It just screams, here's some shit that sort of makes you... Yeah. You're a fighter with some spells that it's kind of competent in the wilderness, but I mean, yeah, this does not scream iconic Ranger images to me. But, they screwed over Rangers before, and, Rangers have never really been as cool as they once swore. OG Rangers were kind of cool. Rangers should be much like Bards, okay? If Bards was the first prestige class, 5 levels of fighter, 5 levels of thief, 1 level of caster before you could be a Bard, Ranger or Paladin should be the same thing. In order to become a Ranger, you got to do other shit first. In order to, get into Special Forces, you got to go through normal army. In order to, for Aragorn to be Aragorn, he had to go through 80 some odd years of training at the hands of elves and men and Gondorians and just, almost 100 years before we meet Aragorn in the beginning of the Lord of the Rings. So, Rangers should be like 5 levels of fighter, 2 levels of thief, 1 level of druid before you can become a Ranger. Not just here's some shit that we had. It really feels like that we had shit left over class right now. Still, here's some stuff we had left over. We don't want to give to anybody else. You can have it. Oh, thanks. Here's a bunch of things. I mean, my biggest ability is that now at 6th level, if I choose this subclass, I can waste a spell to know stuff about a creature because I was too lazy to look it up in a fucking book. Okay, well, that's 30 minutes of me tearing apart the new expert ranger class from the Unearthed Arcana. Make your own mind up. Here's the link down below to D&D Beyond. Thanks a lot to Big D over at Diversity in Dungeons for letting me know this was available and sharing my less than awesome feelings about this. If my complaints upset you, I'm sorry. You did get the warning at the beginning. My sarcasm is something you just can't, hey, if you're somebody out there who loves this, great. I'm sorry. I just think if the ranger should be more ass kicker instead of just here. You have some leftover stuff. Please subscribe. Please check out my merch. I've got clothing over at Teespring, and I have an adventure up at Big Geek Emporium. Fingers crossed. Till next time, I'm the OGGM. If you appreciate this nonsense, you know what to do. Get out of my woods, you damn ranger, because, yeah, you're sort of pathetic.